Hello and welcome to Destiny Digits. I am she and she can see. Thank you to the old, the new, and those just stopping through. This is the expression number 7 reading. So let's just talk about what the expression number means in your numerology chart. So imagine a mountain, right? Your expression number talks about your potential. And so in order for you to get to the top of the mountain that you are climbing in this life, you have the potential to be this 7. You are going to best scale this mountain. You are going to get to the top when you can master the energies of the 7. You find this by using all the letters in your full birth name. So what does it mean to be a 7? Well, 7s, you're extremely knowledgeable. You're analytical. You eat, sleep, drink, and breathe information. You want to know everything. Right? You want to know what it is, how it works, how it got there. You want to know. You love information. You love knowledge. You're studious. You're inventive, right? And sometimes, because you're always processing within, you have a tendency to be reserved. Sometimes you can totally pull away from others, right? Because you, unlike the other numbers, you have an entire world operating within you, right? And so, yes, you're living outside in this earth world, but you are decoding and deciphering everything in the outside world. And you're doing that by going within and taking time to yourself. Sometimes 7 are called mystics, right? But you're very introspective, very intuitive. Now, remember, energies, it's a spectrum. And so there's nothing that's good or bad, but that also means that at times others can see you as being withdrawn, right? But you're not doing it to spite anyone else, but you're doing it because that's the energy you work with. And sometimes you have to pull away to better understand what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. Now, 7s, because you have the knowledge that you have, you can be accused of calculating or being overly analytical or being insensitive. So, knowledge and the mind is kind of the area in which you really master. But that doesn't always leave room for emotions, right? So sometimes it may appear that you're a little aloof or distrusting or cynical, but it's because the way in which you see information and absorb information is just so deep that others just aren't there, and that's okay, right? But this is your gift. This is the energy that you are called the master. And so this reading is almost like a progress report that explains where you've been, where we're going, and kind of why was all of that necessary, okay? So card number 1, the first column talks about what is over and done with, right? I'm climbing this mountain and I no longer have to deal with this. So we have release the inner critic. So 7s, are you surprised that, when you find out information either about self or others, you do something with it, you analyze it. And so this card is saying, listen, we understand what information means to you. We understand how you're packaged within, but you have to be mindful of the way in which you think and speak and believe and feel about self. It says, when a critical inner voice says, I'm not enough, I'm too sensitive, immediately counter it with, this is not true. Focus on loving thoughts instead. And so this is not being overly analytical with self, because that definitely impacts the way you move and the way you approach things. Beneath that card, you have the Hierophant. And so this speaks about your ability to really tap into the divine will, right? And so sometimes 7s, maybe you feel like you're responsible for everything, but realize that you were just one player in a massive story. And your ability to analyze is not to pull yourself apart. It's not to take yourself apart to the point that you don't even know how to put yourself back together. And so when we speak and when we think in private and in silence, it matters about the tone, the energy, and the emotions that you are approaching self with, right? And so the Hierophant card says, listen, these stairs are available to you, but you have to be willing to walk up them and realize that the divine has its own narrative of you and your life. You're not responsible for answering every question, for finding everything out. You're not responsible for creating this illusion of perfection and getting it right. So be gentle with self, right? Be mindful of how you speak to self, because If you're broken and beaten down because you're overly analytical, you're never going to be able to ascend and to get to the next thing. You're very intuitive. And so the Hierophant says, this connection between you and the divine, like, you have the knowledge and the wisdom to be, wise counsel for self and for others, but you gotta kind of perfect that voice, right? The way in which you speak to self naturally is going to be how you approach others. And so there's something that needs to be tweaked. Beneath the Hierophant card, you have love. It says, I commit to the practice of seeing the good in all things. And so love is like the constant. Love is what keeps this world going. Believe it or not, it's love. That is the main energy source that we can all tap into. And so that is what needs to be your center when you decide to analyze, when you decide to go within, when you're seeking knowledge, when you're speaking to yourself. Bring love into the situation. Bring love into your tone. Bring love into your voice. The harsh critic isn't good for you, and it's not good for others. But you have to ascend. You have to level up. And love is the tool that you most need, right? So what's over and done with? You operating with self and others without love. You being too heavy on the criticism. Too much of an analyst to the point that you have no room for emotion. You have no room to feel and to sense how every situation really is an act of love. Maybe you can't see it, but try and see it from the perspective of the divine. And that's why the Hierophant is here. It's asking you to level up, to walk up a little bit higher, right? To rise above your perspective and your perception and try to see it from the divine's point of view. Now, space number 2, column 2, talks about like what's over and done with, but the energies still linger. And so we have watch for the cosmic wink. It says magic comes when spirit winks at us. Stay aware of the synchronicities that provide unexpected answers. Positive forces are always at play in your life. Listen, but sevens, you're never going to look for the cosmic wink if you think that you're responsible for everything, right? And so that's why it's important to assume the identity of the Hierophant, because then you can then you realize that you're just a conduit for the divine information. You're not responsible for all things at all time and carrying it and figuring it out. No, this is saying that you have a team player. The cosmos is literally here to help you and support you, but you have to know that, you have to seek it, and then you kind of have to sit and be ready to absorb that. Beneath watch for the cosmic wink, you have the 3 of Wands. And so this is like saying, listen, like, I'm ready to expand. I'm ready to jump in. I'm ready to go. But this is you waiting for the divine to give you the moment. This is you waiting for the wink, right? And so no longer are you operating in self, in isolation. No, now you realize the bigger story. And so this is you waiting. This is you anticipating what comes next so that you can expand, you can grow, you can creatively jump in, you can play with your own passion and your own force, but you realize you are not playing alone. The divine is with you, supporting you and guiding you if you are open to receive it, right? But the way in which you speak to yourself determines how open you are to prepare for what comes next. Beneath the 3 of Wands, we have growth. It says, I want to expand my consciousness and my awareness, right? Let's go back to that Hierophant, the wise counsel, not just for others, but also for self. And so you're being asked to prepare to level up your wisdom, right? You are growing. You are expanding, but certain aspects of self, certain behaviors must be released. And so one of the things that kept you back was the way in which you spoke and thought to self, right? And in order to expand, you kind of have to remove those negative behaviors that kept you small and allow the divine to come in and to be your team player, like your wingman, your co-pilot. Realize that you're a part of a bigger story. You're not responsible for all things at all times. Your expansion is really in divine timing, right? And so growth. You are not who you were a year ago, a month ago, possibly a week ago. So be proud of the growth that you've made and realize that you can only continue to grow when you allow the divine to enter and to really help you. navigate this thing called life. Now, row number 3 kind of talks about, okay, so I know what I left behind. These energies kind of linger. What am I heading towards? It says, release other people's emotions. Ask yourself, is this emotion mine? Exhale uncomfortable feelings that are not yours so they don't linger in your body. Inhale light and space. So, sevens, sometimes, because you eat, sleep, and drink all things around you, and you kind of go inside to kind of work through those energies, everything that you're absorbing is not yours. And so this is having the ability to purge what doesn't belong to you so that it doesn't become a blockage. The Two of Swords says that, listen, sometimes when we carry things that don't belong to us, it stops us from having a clear understanding, right? We don't have clarity. We can't see. We can't decide. We can't make a choice because we're carrying things that don't belong to us. And so stability is gained when we are only operating in our own energy. And so this is being able to purge. You're heading to a space where you're only carrying your shit and your shit alone. You're able to make moves, make choices, make decisions. Your vision is clear. You can see the road ahead because you have balanced your peace of mind, right? You've purged the crap that wasn't yours. Beneath the Two of Swords, we have loneliness. I know that I'm never alone. So sometimes we carry, it seems, sevens, we're carrying all these things that belong to others because it's a form of companionship. It's a form of company, right? We hang out with all these people, places, and things because they fill us up, but they're filling us up with stuff that's not ours. And then it stops us from being able to see clearly what the road ahead is even showing us. And so the loneliness card says, listen, even if you purge things that don't belong to you, people, be mindful of people that like to dump on you. Be mindful of that because that's not yours, right? So don't be willing to go and drink it, right? Refuse it. And don't be afraid that, listen, if I cut myself off from these things or these people that are dumping on me, I'm not alone. I'm never alone. So don't carry people, places, and things for fear. It seems like it could be fear of abandonment that would cause us to do this. But it's like, listen, you're never alone. And the crazy thing is that when we're surrounding ourselves with a whole bunch of stuff that's not ours, we end up feeling alone because nobody truly understands what we're feeling and going through anyway. So don't even pick it up. Don't even pick it up. But you need to know, if I don't pick this up, if I don't hang out with these people, if I don't accept this engagement, I'm not alone. No, right? So something needs to be fixed with how we're perceiving loneliness, being alone, abandonment, rejection. Something needs to be fixed there because it ends up blocking our vision because we're carrying stuff that doesn't belong to us. So you're heading to that space where you better understand that loneliness really doesn't exist, right? And that you can prioritize self. And you can rid yourself of all the things that don't belong to you. And you can literally just be you. And that is enough, right? That is enough. And knowing that you are enough even when it's only you goes back to that inner critic. Like, I'm good enough, right? I don't need all of this. I don't need all of this. Just me being me is good enough. Now, card number 4 kind of talks about, like, what am I expecting? What are your expectations? It says, stop trying to fix people. It is not your job to fix anyone. Allow people the dignity of their own paths. So the tricky part about being a 7 is that you know so much, right? And so you naturally want to share what you know. You kind of want to guide people. You want to help people through their shit because you can see through it. But by doing that, you kind of have to carry all of their stuff and then kind of push them through. But that is not your job. That is not why you came here. Everybody has their own path. And just because you have the wisdom, you have the vision, you have the understanding, it doesn't make you the eyes for the people, places, and things that are lost. That's not it. You're going to burn yourself out. We're going to resent people, places, and things. It's just not going to be a good thing. Now, beneath that, we have the Nine of Swords. This is literally not being able to rest because, like, we have no clarity. We're bombarded with fears. We're thinking the worst. Like, we're just not sure about what's going to come. Like, if I don't say this, if I don't do this, what's going to happen? But again, this is the divine story. This is not your story. You are a player. You are a tool for others, but you are your first asset. And so when you can take care of self, you are better able to help others. Only when you have healthy boundaries. We're not carrying anybody else through their life. We're not supposed to be showing people, the way, like that. Like, everybody has their own journey. It is not your responsibility. Yes, you're gifted because because of how you chase knowledge and understanding. You're gifted because of your insight. Others don't have that, but it doesn't mean that you give that to them. Doesn't mean you provide that to them, right? And when you choose to not do that, maybe people, places, and things start to walk away. But they probably were not healthy for you anyway. This Nine of Swords, beneath it, you have doubt. I release the need to know the answers. How hard is that for a 7 to not know the answers? Like, you literally are the wise mystic, the all-knowing. Knowledge is what you live for. And so to not have an answer, I think, is extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating, because you and you don't want to know everything for something bad. Like, any knowledge you have, you want to use it for good, but it's almost like you become frustrated if you can't see or make sense of situations. It's like you need the information, but make sure that we're not being nosy. Make sure we're not intruding on others so that we can carry them through their own story. That's not the job. So the Nine of Swords is saying, like, listen, clarity, peace, and contentment comes when you are only carrying your own energy. You won't be able to rest if you're putting yourself in everybody else's story to help them, to show them the way, to fix things for them. Unfortunately, the more you do that, the more you get lost in your own energy and your own space, right? And then when we're not able to help the people, places, and things that we've invested ourselves in, then you want to turn around and beat your own self up for not being able to do that. Then you want to become your own critic. And it's just like this never-ending cycle. And so this is saying that you're moving, or you're expecting to get to a place where you're not assuming the worst, where you're like, you know what? I can put this down and I can go rest. I'm not responsible for this, right? I don't know what's going to happen, but so what? Right? Like, so what? Whatever I'm supposed to know will present itself to me when the time is right, right? And so you're expecting to get to that point, or that is what is expected of you. And you can get there as quickly as you choose to grow, right? Card number 5 kind of talks about, okay, so why was all of this necessary? Like, why, like, what was the point of all this all? Well, first card out says, make peace with uncertainty. So, like, 7's consistently, this is about knowledge, communication, and information. Be comfortable in your own ignorance. Right? That almost seems like, wait, what? What are you talking about? It says, it may take a while to find clarity about a situation. Be patient. Know that invisible healing forces are at work during this phase. So, yes, you have this power of this intuitive mystic, but you are not all-knowing. The divine God is all-knowing. And there is a point where you end and then God picks up, but you don't get scared when your space ends. That's where we step into that trust, right? We don't overanalyze. We don't become insensitive. We don't become cynical. We don't try to calculate things. No, we just stop and we accept that I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know what's going to unfold, right? And I can be at peace with that. Beneath that card, we have the Fool. This is about taking a leap of faith in your own ignorance. The Fool has no idea what is to come on this journey. But the idea is that no matter what, I have everything I need. No matter what, I'm prepared for this start. I don't know what's coming next, but I'm okay with it, right? And so that's what Spirit is saying to you. Be comfortable in your ignorance and go for it anyway. Don't stop. Don't become stuck. Don't start questioning. Don't start overanalyzing. Don't try to compensate for all the stuff you don't know. No, that's not how we do it. You jump into your ignorance and say, God got me. The divine has me, right? This must be my stop sign, and the divine must pick up after this. Beneath the Fool card, we have death. It says, I'm learning that endings are merely beginnings. So, the Fool is about a new beginning, but the Death card says that this new beginning is coming after something has ended. And you may not know what comes next, but you still have to be prepared to jump into what lies ahead, even if you don't know what that is, right? And that's so hard to do. And especially when we're thinking about our life experiences and our age and what we've been through and our traumas, and it's easier said than done, but that is where your growth lies, in doing it. Not in analyzing, not in contemplating, not in questioning everything, not saying, I'm not moving until I find this information out. Then you become, then you're just stopping yourself from growing. You're stunting yourself. And so every ending really allows you to jump into the new. But the new may not reveal itself in totality, but somehow you have to be prepared to jump. And so that's what Spirit is saying. Make peace with uncertainty. And realize that if you don't know what's happening, the divine does. And so guess what? You're an active player. You're an active participant in this thing called life. And you're showing up to learn along the way. Let's look at the cards at the bottom of the deck. It says, let yourself receive support. Empaths. It's often easier for empaths to give than receive. This talks about allowing others to support you. Sevens, because your mind is magical. I think that sometimes you can carry such a big responsibility, or you feel like you have such a big responsibility. To be the supporter, to be the caretaker, to be the one that knows it all, to be the one that has it all, to be the one that has figured everything out. But that's crazy, because you're not crazy, but I'm just saying, when we're thinking about the human story, we are little humans, and we typically are kind of insignificant. Even if we don't feel that way, we really don't matter as much as we think we do, right? And I'm not being cynical, but I'm just saying, sometimes we make ourselves so big that we can't even take a step forward. But I think that when you allow yourself to be comfortable in your own ignorance, it can be fun to not know stuff, right? You can anticipate the surprise of what's to come. And so this is about realizing that even when we're not prepared, even when we are not able to support ourselves, support can come to us, and you don't have to feel ashamed that you don't have it all figured out. You don't. Beneath that card, you have the World, and that talks about, listen, something has clearly ended. A cycle is over. As long as you want it to be over, because we can stay stuck in time periods and phases as long as we want to. We can choose to not grow, we can choose to not move, we can choose to not adapt. But this World card says that, listen, support is available to you if you want it. You are in a new phase, but you kind of have to open up, and the mind, your mind is fierce and powerful, but sometimes it can trick us into thinking that we are bigger and more powerful than we really are. And so truly, as humans, we are only here and existing because of what we can offer others. So never feel that you have to know it all and you have to figure it all out in your own will. Don't do that to self, right? And then that's where we get back to that inner critic, because then we beat ourselves up for not being able to. And it's kind of this never-ending trap. And so this is saying, hey, support's available to you, but you have to be able to end all those behaviors where you felt like you didn't need it. You were the support for all. I don't need it. I'm the provider. It's really about shifting those things that kept us stuck and kind of in this place of turmoil. Beneath the World, it says relationship. So 7, this is definitely about how we're relating to others. And it just talks about, being attracted to the people, places, and things, to the relationships that are really for our highest good. And so listen, this looks like an assessment. Stop trying to fix people. Even if you're not trying to fix people, some people can literally think that you're the fixer because of what you know, because of how you navigate your own life. And people can put you in that position even if you're not willingly doing that. People can just put you in that role to fix their own issues. And that's not going to work. But you have to be comfortable in saying, I do know a lot, but I don't know that. I don't have that answer. You know what I mean? Like, you can defer them somewhere else. Like, don't make yourself responsible for everybody else's story, because yours is most important for you to be the asset that you can be for others, right? And so allow whatever needs to close out, because the relationships that come to you, the relationships that you are going to attract, are going to be for your highest good. But let's go back to that inner talk. If you are a critic to self, if you speak to yourself in silence in a way that breaks you down as opposed to builds you up, unfortunately, the energy that you vibrate in is going to bring the same broken kind of people, places, and things to you so that you can fix them, right? And that becomes a trap. It becomes heavy. And so Spirit is saying, you are not supposed to be figuring it out for everybody. You, at times, won't even be able to figure it out for yourself. Be comfortable in that. Be comfortable in not knowing. Be comfortable in your ignorance. Accept that certain things have ended. Certain people, places, and things that kept you in this role. Those things can pass. Those things can go away as soon as you allow them to, right? And then we kind of can bring in the relationships that really reflect who we are becoming and what we are growing to. We're growing to be in the future. All right, sevens, I'm hoping this was beneficial. Thank you so much for stopping by. Take care.